Good morning, Hope Hub. Thoughtful Thursday, Thankful Thursday. And today I'm going to get right into it because I don't have a whole lot of time. But today is the day on the Hope Hub when we focus on thankfulness and thoughtfulness and mindfulness. And I hope I'll do this justice because I know some people think about gratitude and they think it's just frou-frou and it's not that impactful. But let me tell you, I've had life experiences where I do know that gratitude is a hope strategy unlike any other, and one that you need to cultivate when you're going through a life challenge. So someone had reached out to me on my inbox and was asking how to overcome a life challenge or how to cultivate hopefulness when they're going through a life challenge because they don't see any hope in the situation. And you know, that made me think about gratefulness and gratitude, because that's one of the main things that is a life lesson for me that will help you pull out of a life challenge. So hopefully I do this justice, right? So whenever you go through a life challenge, one of the things that happens is you tend to be really hyper focused on your problem and the situation that you're in. And what happens when you focus on that problem, it expands, right? Energy flows where energy goes, or energy grows where energy flows. So when you focus on the situation, the hopelessness, your limitations, the life challenge, then that's what grows and that's what expands, right? So what you need to do when you're going through a life challenge is to focus on gratitude and to focus on what you're thankful for. And I know it's hard. Because I've been in a life challenge where my strategy was to go and hide. It was to run. Because, you know, that's what some of us do, is when you have a life challenge and you can't face it, you turn around and you run in the other direction, right? And that's one strategy that you can have. Another strategy is you can decide to hide. So I've done that too, been there, where I take the covers and I pull them over my head and I go into a depressive state and I say, I'm never getting up. I'm gonna pull down the shutters. I'm never gonna look up. I'm just gonna hide from this situation. Another strategy that's not an empowering strategy is you freeze. You're paralyzed in that situation and you just decide, this is my lot in life. This challenge has completely overwhelmed me. You actually pitch a tent. You pitch a tent in that situation and you become that. You start living the emotion of that. You're like, you know, whatever situation happened, whatever curveball was thrown in your life, you start imitating it or you start becoming it, which is so disempowering, right? So been there, done all those three. Frozen, paralyzed, 5 years, just sitting, pitched my tent right there, and I was like, I'm depressed and I'm never moving from this situation. I've become this person. I've become this disability. I've become this limitation. I am not worthy. I have no self-esteem. I don't have a story. I can't inspire. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm not intelligent enough. Whatever the situation is, I'm not worthy of self-respect. I'm not worthy of promotion. I'm not worthy of a relationship. I'm not worthy of a empowering relationship. So we all do that, right? But you know, you need to move past it. And I know it's hard for you to hear that, especially when you're going through a challenge. You're saying, how can I do this? What are the strategies that I can use to do this? Well, gratitude is one. And that's why I had Thoughtful Thursday here on the Hope Hub and Thankful Thursday, because it forces you to say, yes, I'm going through this significant and what most people may say is even tragic life situation, right? But what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for on today? If you are a member of the Hope Hub and you're going through a life challenge, guess what? Just by you being on your phone, clicking it on and looking at Faith and me talking to you, that's something you need to be grateful for. That's something you need to be grateful for, that you're living in an age where you have the ability, the wherewithal to look for inspiration, the wherewithal to click on a phone, the ability to go on technology and look for someone who can inspire hope in you. The ability to hear someone, to hear my voice, your hearing, your seeing, your movement, your hands, your legs. Oh my God, yesterday I was watching Nick Vujicic. He has no arms, no legs. If you look on the Hope Hub page, I posted a video of him talking about hope. If he can talk about hope, then surely you can talk about hope. Surely I can talk about hope. So gratitude is a strategy because it forces you to really look around your environment, and instead of being in the mire of what your problem is, really looking at what are you grateful for. Yes, you may be unhealthy, or you may have been hit by a curveball. Guess what? That's life. Life is life. People get hit by curveballs all the time. It hits them smack in the face. It may come hit somebody else. Curveballs, like someone dies unexpectedly. We all gonna die. We all gonna die. We gonna grieve, for each other, but we're here for a short, limited amount of time in this life, right? So curveballs come and hit us, and unfortunately they're sad. And I'm talking about this thinking about my own curveballs and things that I never expected would happen in my life, but yet they did. And that's life. Such is life. What you need to ask yourself is, what is the characteristic? So gratitude, number one, but start asking yourself, what is the characteristic that this life situation is helping me build? What is it strengthening in your character? Can you ask yourself that? What is the life lesson that I'm learning through this life situation? Ask yourself that. Allow that life lesson, that strengthening of character, to be what it is you stand in that environment. Don't pitch your tent there and hide, cover yourself up. Don't pitch your tent there and freeze and stay there for 5 years meanwhile, guess what? Life is going on around you, right? You are your own rescue. There's no one who is going to come rescue you. I can talk till I'm blue in the face today, but guess what? No one is there to rescue you except you. You cannot sit in the back seat of your life. You cannot sit in the passenger seat of your life. You have to slide over and sit in the driver's seat and drive that car. Drive that car. Drive yourself right out of that challenge. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. But guess what? Look, now that's someone who is going to be picked up by an ambulance. So it doesn't happen overnight. You look up one day and you just say, I'm grateful for food on the table. I'm grateful for my arms and my legs and my health. When I look at Nick Vujicic and I see he was born with no arms and legs. Can you believe that? And this is a person who is saying, I do not have a disability. I do not have a disability. What I have is hope. What I have is inspiration. What I am is a motivational speaker. What I have is my spirit, my soul, the person that I am that can still make an impact in this world. So if he can have hope, why can't we have hope? We should have hope like times 10, times 100, right? So in every situation, look at your environment. Do not pitch a tent right there. Start looking at what you're grateful for. So I have a story. Because I'm really, when I get inboxes, I get fired up. And I get fired up because, I'm starting to understand, and I may do this where I'll do a check-in in terms of how this group will operate going forward, because I get inboxes from people seeking help, and I'm not necessarily the help you're looking for, because I created this Hope Hub as a place where you can times 422 group members in terms of life lessons and strategies and hope that people can give based on their experience. Not based on my experience, but the multitude of experiences that can impact someone's life and help someone accelerate. So if someone inboxes me, I can only give what I have. But what I want is for other people to also contribute to this space and help build a hub of hope, right? So what I may do is, I belong to another group that does hide my identity, and I may do Dear Hope Hub, where you can say Dear Hope Hub and allow me to post it on this page and on this group, and people can give you advice based on their life experience. But this is longer than I usually go. But in terms of gratefulness, sometimes because you're in it, you do not see what's going to happen, right? You don't see the testimony after this test. You don't see the purpose that's going to come from this pain. You don't see the message that's going to come out of this mess. So I've been in a situation, and my husband can comment on this, where, so I'll give you my but God moment or testimony. There was a time 7 years ago where we both lost our jobs at the same time. You know, that it wasn't planned. So how this happened was I was on maternity leave. Before I went on maternity leave from this job, they were talking about restructuring. And they were talking about changes that were coming along, right? And I knew I was going on leave. And so I was looking for a job while I was on leave. But while I was on leave, certain situations happened where I lost that job. So I'm on maternity leave, postpartum, 3 weeks, I ain't got no job. At the same time, right before that, my husband and I had applied for a home equity loan, and it was over $20,000. And then that plus our savings, we bought a truck, okay? Because he wanted to become an independent truck driver. So he was going to be driving a big rig, and we were really excited. So we had bought this truck, invested all the money, and on his first trip to Texas, listen to me, first, we didn't even have any check from that truck. All we had is invested everything. Coming from Texas in the foothills of Virginia, you know how there's so many curves on the roads and everything? Had a huge truck accident by himself, thank God. No other cars were involved, but the truck rolled over, crashed over, completely totaled. Completely totaled. $27,000 down the drain that we now have a loan to pay. He doesn't have a job, and I don't have a job. Just had a child. No insurance, no medical insurance, because my insurance was covering him and my kids, and no income, no savings. Okay? So tell me if that's not a life challenge. And I'm sure many of you have had curveballs happen in your life. The ball hits you smack in the face, a monkey wrench or whatever you want to call it. But that's life. That's life. But I understand that situation where you're looking at it and you're saying, why me? Why? Why, Lord? Why me? And what I can say is that why me is not an empowering question. What you need to ask yourself is a more empowering question is, what is the life lesson that I'm supposed to learn from this? What is the character and strength of character I'm supposed to garner from this experience? What is being strengthened? What is the muscle that is being exercised in this life experience? And I know I'm saying this to you in hindsight after this has happened, and I've obviously overcome that life challenge. And yes, I can look back and I'm like, look, as much as we were going through, guess what? We were grateful. We were grateful because he did not get hurt in that accident. He could have died, right? Which could have been a worse situation. He could have got injured or paralyzed or something major, other major could have happened. And I know, there are people who've had accidents where they do get into a health situation based on that accident. And so we were grateful for that. The fact that he has his health and he had his health. He didn't even come out with a scratch. Nothing. But we lost our income. So we became totally dependent on God in that situation. So our faith muscle was being exercised, right? What was I saying? So we were grateful for his health. What else could I have been grateful for in that situation? I was grateful that I'm in the United States of America, where I could go to a state service center and get Medicaid for my kids. So I started looking for resources in terms of how can I get insurance for my kids? And so I got the Medicaid for my kids, right? I was able to have insurance for my kids. What else was I grateful for in that situation? I was grateful for my health. I was grateful for my kids' health. I was grateful for food. When I went to the state service center, they actually told me about food assistance. I wasn't even aware that I could get food stamps. But based on my situation, they said, do you know you can get food stamps? Do you know you can get WIC, Women, Infants, and Children Assistance? Let me tell you, this house was so full of food, we had to give it away because we were getting so much food and assistance, right? So in that situation, if I focused on the problem instead of focusing on getting in the driver's seat of my life, going out and looking for a job, going out and looking for assistance for my kids, if I decided to hide and freeze and get paralyzed and become emotionally vested, biologically vested in what was going on in my life, guess what? I would have been a depressed person. Things would have probably not turned out the way that they did. But let me tell you, but God, let me tell this morning, I'm telling you, but God, whatever situation you're going through right now, God is a God of the 360 degree. And when you praise him, when you thank him, things will start expanding. Doors will start opening. Growth will start happening in your life, because gratitude is a door opener. Gratitude helps you focus on the positive aspects of your life, and you start seeing opportunities as opportunities for growth. And so I got a job with the state government, the same organization that assisted me in my time of need. And when I went for that job interview, I was able to talk about their services because I had been a recipient of their services. But God, can you believe that? The fact that I had gone into a state service center as a client, as a customer, as someone in need, as someone who had nowhere to turn except them, I was able to go apply for a job. When I applied for that job and they were asking me very pertinent questions in terms of the constituents and the people who need the help of those state service centers, I was able to answer those questions based on experience. And in hindsight, when I look at the job that I had previously, I was not happy in that job. I had actually stagnated. And this propelled me, loss of that job when I unexpectedly propelled me to actually go looking for bigger and opportunities that would expand my impact, that would help me grow in terms of my career. And maybe I would still be there even up till today, right? In hindsight, my husband, and maybe he can tell you what his lesson learned is. He doesn't talk that much, so I don't see him coming live, but he may comment here in terms of what his life lesson was, or what was strengthened in terms of the challenge he went through in that situation, because we all learn different things through situations. He can in hindsight, when I look back at it, what it forced him to do was to go look for a job with a trucking company where he became a dispatcher, because he didn't have a truck to drive. He became a dispatcher, right? And by sitting in that office, dispatching other truck drivers and learning the ins and outs of a trucking business in the office, right now he is part owner of a trucking company where he is the person in the office helping grow this company, helping dispatch drivers from that company. And that's a skill that he acquired in the midst of his issues, in the midst of his mess, in the midst of his pain, in the midst of his unemployment, right? He was forced to go into an office environment and learn the ins and outs of that trucking business and how to operate a trucking business. So there's so many lessons we pulled from that experience. But what I do want to say is that if you are in the midst of a life challenge, practice gratitude. Practice gratitude. Look up and see the little things that you can be grateful for, okay? Because that's how you know, like, just tell yourself, I know that I know, based on faith, I know that this is just a short time, a short period, that this thing is getting ready to be turned on its head. It's going to be a 360-degree turn, and God works in so many mysterious ways that you can now look back at your life and see how challenges in your life that happened in your life have shaped you, but also led you strategically to other directions and other things that grew you. Is that the truth for most of you? Because that's the truth for me. That's a school bus coming, so let me move from this area. So I do want to ask you guys to practice gratitude, ask you guys to come on the Hope Hub and inspire someone. ask you guys to ask your questions. Inbox me, Dear Hope Hub. I'll post it here on the page, on the group, and people can respond. And start looking at your life from a different vantage point. Start practicing gratitude. Now, yesterday I came here and I said, whatever it is that I was saying yesterday about All the Tomorrows Are in God by Derek Rydell, later on, I had a light bulb moment. I told you it would make sense sometime during the day. So yesterday I was listening to this master teacher who talks about the law of emergence and how all of us, when we come into the world, we are a seed, like an acorn, that it's like we're like an acorn. An acorn becomes an oak tree. Well, all of us, when we are born, we have that potential, that seed. We're a seed that has a lot of potential to grow, expand, and become this humongous oak tree, which means that everything that we need, everything that we require, everything that we need to overcome different life challenges, everything that we need to grow is all in our, that's my son's bus, is all within us. You're equipped. You come in with the seed, the equipment, the germination, the potential is all within you to grow, right? So anyway, that's what Derek Rydell talks about. So I love listening to him. But yesterday, the quote he said was that all our tomorrows are in the now of God. All our tomorrows are in the now of God. And I was like, that completely went over my head. But later on, when I was thinking about it, he was talking about how time and space are mental constructs and how we paint our perceptions and we project our life experiences on these canvases in our life. So if you look at your life, this was what I got later on. If you look at your life like a gallery, a gallery with all these photos during different parts of your life, right? God has the vantage point where he can see that whole photo gallery, all these pictures, all these canvases that make up your life, right? But for us, we don't have the ability to see that whole vantage point that God has on all our tomorrows being in now, right? However, when you start doing that, exercising that way, you can look back on your life and see where God has moved in your life, or see how you perceived certain times in your life and how all those things have kind of influenced you and made you to who you are today. Then it makes you become more aware of the more of the reason for you to be present, to show up in your life, to take control of your life, to expand your vision, to grow. It makes you more aware of the importance of you being your own rescue, you being the one that paints your life in color instead of living a whole black and white life. So I know that there are people whose lives, when they look back, if you go into their gallery, think about your life. If you go into your own gallery, what kind of motif is going on? Is it a dark motif? Will I look at your childhood and it was like darkness? And then I go into your elementary years, darkness. Into your high school years, darkness. And then there's this whole gray motif in the gallery of your life. Or maybe there are bursts of color here and there. You can tell, like, if you go into the gallery of someone's life, if you talk to them, you can see the themes and the flow and the canvas and the artistic expression and who they are based from point A to Z. I don't know much about art, but basically you can see what the palette they're painting their life looks like, right? And what influences them. So start looking at your life and start looking at it from that vantage point of a gallery, vantage point of a photo, and how your perceptions of life are projected on the various canvases of your life. For me, I like to use books and chapters. For Derek Rydell, I believe he likes to use the visual and the art and the canvas. So I want your galleries, even if it's been black and white motif, your galleries should be full of color going forward, because you're the author of your life. You're the painter of the canvas of your life. And yes, situations happen, curveballs are thrown, you don't know what hits you, you had a monkey wrench situation. Maybe allow yourself that moment to just be like, oh my God, but wake up, look up, and start living in hope. Wake up, look up, and see that you're not alone. Wake up and look up and take control of your life and be the driver. Take the driver's seat and say, I'm going to drive myself right through this situation. I'm going to look at what characteristics are being strengthened, what lessons I'm learning, and look back on my life and see where God, so many but God moments, and how those moments were turned around, and know that this is just yet another moment, but greater is coming. Greater is coming. Happy Thursday, Thoughtful Thursday. No, my husband is like, where is she? All right, gotta go drop the kids. Bye.